Hi everyone. I don't actually know who's on here or who's not, or it's just me. Jai Bhim. My name is Rajyashri Goody, and happy Ambedkar Jayanti. Even though at this point, at this time, it's not really a very happy day, but I hope everybody's safe. So a little bit about me. I'm an Ambedkarite artist based in Pune. I also do a few other things. I'm associated with a Buddhist institute called Naglok, where we actually held its first art residency last year. And right now, we're working for relief efforts across India due to the ongoing crisis caused by Corona. Prabhakar Kamre very generously invited me to do this Facebook Live today. And I just want to thank him. So, thank you, Prabhakar, and to the entire secular arts movement. We had a really nice time last year at their workshop called Revolution and Counter Revolution near the Ajanta caves last year. And I think for everybody involved, it was a very moving time. Um, so about me, my educational background is not fine art, but it's sociology and visual anthropology. And I began making art around like 5 years ago. Uh, all my art deals with issues of caste, particularly values of dignity and of self respect, and how they play out in our day to day lives. But I don't have a particular medium as such. So my mediums include things from installations to writing, photography, sculpture, really depending on what fits the theme that I'm working with. Also, because I didn't go to art school, it's nice for me to keep experimenting with different mediums until I maybe figure out what is my medium to use. Um, so for today's live session, I'll be talking about two themes that I work with. I hope everybody can hear me. One sec, let me just check if everybody can hear me. I'm asking Prabhakar on the phone. Can everyone hear me? Um, yeah, just I don't know. I haven't used Facebook Live before, so it's interesting. Um, okay, I'm gonna go on. Um, so yeah, so I'll be talking about two themes that I work with today. One is the act of like wiping the Manusmriti clean. So, as we all know, Dr. Ambedkar publicly burnt the Manusmriti as thank you, Neharika. So, Dr. Ambedkar publicly burnt the Manusmriti as an act of protest in 1927 on December 25th. And I I found this to be an incredibly courageous, strong act, like for our whole community and for all of India. Um, until today, December 25th is celebrated as Manusmriti Dahan Din. And in 2017, I was thinking a lot about how this act of burning, but also like how the power of writing is connected to this act of burning. So this was a text that had all these laws against caste and women, and this text really made sure that education was denied to our ancestors. And now with so many members of our community reading and writing and telling our own histories, I thought perhaps it could be interesting to honor this act of burning the Manusmriti by actually like pulping the Manusmriti. So by making it plain. I can't seem to share my screen over here, but this is like one example. Where's my thing? So this is just a plain piece of paper. It's not anything very like wow, amazing or anything like that. But I basically took a copy of the Manusmriti, tore it up, put it in the mixer, and then made plain sheets of paper out of it. And right now I have many different kinds actually. I have all kinds of different sizes. One second. So there's this one. These are quite nice because I made them at the Handmade Paper Institute. So they're a bit more professional. And then I also have sheets which are a bit like this. They are they're slightly more sculptural. And I'll share what I'll do is I'm gonna write my my website here just because all the images are on there, and since I can't share the screen here. So this is rajyashrigoody.com, and it has lots of images. So how I work with the Manusmriti now, really making it into plain paper. So it's a constant act. I just make as much plain paper as possible. But then nowadays I'm also making like sculptural elements out of it. And actually, one project that I'm working on currently for something called 5 million incidents in New Delhi is giving this Manusmriti paper to artists to work on themselves, so they can rewrite on the Manusmriti. They can redo whatever they want. It's their voice, and it's their paper, so they can really sort of not only erase the history of the Manusmriti, but also like write their own history, whatever they want to. Um, Another point about this paper is that you can still sort of see it like in parts, and some of the paper is quite plain that I make, but some has these little bits of text, and that's quite important to me because I'm also kind of saying that the Manusmriti hasn't really been erased yet. Like we are still in a situation where Dalit communities are often the worst affected, and discriminated against every single day. So caste has definitely not been erased. So as much as we burn the Manusmriti, we pulp it or anything like that, it's going to require so much more effort from all of us really, to make sure that future generations are actually based in equality. That sounds like a dream. I see it, and it just sounds a bit impossible at the moment, but I hope I'm wrong. Um, so I make all kinds of things with the Manusmriti. I even make like strange paper pulp laddus with it. I wish I could show you all the photograph right now, but I can't seem to share the screen. Um, anyway, I will share images later. Um, and coming to laddus, basically, my next theme that I work with a lot is the relationship between food and caste. Um, so that's very important for me. I started working on this theme in 2016 when the Una riots had just happened, and there was protests, not riots. Sorry. Um, And since then I started thinking about, what is the term Indian food mean? What is Indian food? Does it mean it's just vegetarian, or what kind of meat does it include, and what is Dalit food? And what are these terms that seem to stick on and seem to label somebody as like pure and impure and polluted? Um, so when I was trying to find more research, because I do most of my research through reading first. I think it's my academic background that first I have to just try and find as much that's been written on the topic. I came across this book here. It's called, I think it'll show like Ulta here, but it's called Isn't This Plate Indian? And it's half in English and half in Marathi. It's been published by the Women's Studies Center in Pune University, and it was published. It was a student project, and it was in 2009, and they basically explored this connection between food and memory, especially in the context of caste, and how maybe for certain communities food is just related to like taste and enjoyment, but I think in oppressed communities, memories of food are linked to hunger, to feelings of shame, guilt, fear, practices of eating leftovers or begging. And basically, food is where a lot of caste discrimination and caste experience plays out. In fact, even in the Manusmriti and like a lot of caste rules um, mention, no intercaste dining, this idea of pollution through food, all these certain things. So all these things were coming to my mind, and I was also reading Dalit autobiographies a lot then, and I realized that wait, actually, like all the autobiographies I've read, all the Dalit autobiographies I've read, are filled with memories of food. Sometimes like half the book or more is actually talking about food. No, obviously not like what we ate, but how they experienced hunger through food, or how they experienced just moving about in a city, coming to a new city, or life in the village, and how interconnected that was to their stomach. So then what I began doing as an exercise, and then what really became the backbone of my art practice, was compiling these recipe booklets. So for each autobiography that I read, so for instance, if I'm reading Basant Moon's Growing Up Untouchable in India, I would make a little booklet. So these are just sort of compilations of like 6 recipes. So for each sort of thing. And how I'll do it is whenever the writer is mentioning food, I'll mark out those extracts, and then I'll just twist the words slightly to make it sound a bit like a recipe or a poem. I'm gonna read some for examples. Again, I can share like the actual recipes soon. Which one should so Om Prakash Valmiki's autobiography Juthan is a very famous book. So I'll read some recipes that I created out of his book. This one's called Juthan. Um, During a wedding, sit outside with huge baskets. After the Baratis have eaten, the dirty leaf plates might be put in your baskets. Take them home to save the juthan sticking to them. little bits of puris, bits of sweetmeats, a little bit of vegetable. Eat the jutan with relish. Lick it all up. If the Bharatis have not left enough scraps on their pattas, denounce them as gluttons. Your elders might narrate, in thrilled voices, stories of Bharatis that had left several months of jutan. So I basically will just keep writing recipes based on what they've written in their books. This one's very small. This one's just called At Starvation's Door. It's just boil gram, add salt for spice. That is all for tonight. What else? This is another compilation. Yeah, I'll read out cactus pods. Just, yeah, let me know if I'm audible or if you want to know anything else about my practice, etc. Just, you're welcome to ask questions. Um, the one I'm reading out now is called Cactus Pods, and I've adapted it from Baby Thai Kamble's book called The Prisons We Broke. If your children haven't eaten for 3 days and look like living corpses, go to the stream. Pull cactus pods down with a stick. Roll them in the soil to remove the thorns. Fill them in your cane basket. No other fruit might ever appear so delicious. Carry the basket home. Remove the skin of the pods and pop the flesh into your mouth. Ravenously gobble them up, not for fun, but to stay alive. When your pangs of hunger are extinguished, go to sleep, without giving a thought to the punishment awaiting you. The seeds of the cactus fruit are so hard they cannot be broken open, even with pliers. Tiny as jawar grains, they go down the throat and then through the stomach, slide into the intestines, where they become slabs of concrete. Life next day might be hell. You might be terrified to attend nature's call. Your eyes might pop out, but your stomachs might not empty. You might push as hard as you can, but to no avail. But for that one night, sleep peacefully. I'm gonna read one more. This one is from quite a recent book called Ants Among Elephants, written by Sujata Gidla, and it's called Cornflakes. Take care of your children's nutrition. Give them cornflakes, as they do in England and America. Go to a high-class store. Buy a package. If anyone finds out, they might ridicule you for your fancy ideas. Explain to your children what cornflakes are. This is what they eat in foreign. They may be unimpressed, suspicious, or in awe. When the meal is ready, put a spoonful in their mouths. They may feel dizzy and nauseated. Try patiently for 3 days to get them to eat the cornflakes, but they may not like them. It may take too much time, too much effort to light the fire and keep fanning it until the milk boils. But do not throw away the package. So much money down the drain. Keep the box as a souvenir, a token of modernity. Um, yeah, I think, what else can I read? Um, there's also, I'll read one about water. This one is from Vasant Moon's Growing Up Untouchable in India. I think water is quite an important aspect when it comes to food. I guess eating and drinking go hand in hand, and especially with events like the Mahar Satyagraha, and just water as this sort of simultaneously purifying and polluting object. Um, it it was quite important for me to notice whenever writers were talking about water. So this is called Earthen Water. It's not it's not very graphic necessarily, but it's quite beautiful. In the summer, eat puris fried in oil along with the chicken or a gravy mutton dinner. When thirst comes, vehemently gulp down water taken in a metal cup from an earthen pot. Let the water flow through the stomach for the whole day. This water has a different flavor linked to the earth. Life seems peaceful. If your pot breaks, ask for a pitcher full of cool water from the neighbors. Neighborliness means giving a bit of your family's food every day to the neighbors and taking some from them. Let the love of neighborliness residing in earthen houses absorb all the summer heat. The last one I will read out is called Rice, and it's from a book called Karuku, written by Bama. The latest edition was in 2014. Rice. Dance to someone else's tune for a serving of rice. Depend on someone else for a daily meal. For how many days can you fight in the name of justice when you are hungry and thirsty? Yeah, that's it. So they're not necessarily recipes, I guess we can tell, but they're more experiences of discrimination, just a human experience at some point, um, but that are very majorly interlinked with food. Um, and that's really how discrimination works, right? Like it's not always some large physical violent gesture, but the violence can just stay very quietly and just involve and grow itself every day in your daily life. And I found that really important to learn for myself as well. Just to learn about my own history through these autobiographies, and see how, like, our ancestors, and maybe not even ancestors, there's so many people from our communities today who are still suffering in similar ways. So that's mainly why I find it important to, like, write these little recipe books. um, Okay, well, please share your experiences about this discourse in Indian contemporary art world and abroad too. Um, yeah, so it's I've been very lucky. I think maybe because of the academic background, maybe because of the opportunities I've had. I've been very lucky to go to quite a few residencies abroad, and really before even much happened for me in the Indian art world necessarily. Um, and what I found was, I think abroad at residencies, people don't question you. So they're like, oh, she's from India, okay, whatever she's saying about India is true, etc., whatever. uh, and that for me was a freedom, because I think in India, every time I had to mix with audiences a lot, a few years ago, like they would be like, oh yeah, okay, your work is interesting, but like caste doesn't actually still exist, so like why are you still talking about it? Things like that. So actually abroad, I found it a bit more freeing, but at the same time, uh, it forces you to become an educator, which is great. I think all of us should be educators to a certain level, but then I think our creative energy also kind of goes away at some point if you're just all the time trying to tell people, yes, caste exists and this is how it exists, this is how it exists, and you're not able to perhaps like simply just be an artist. I think, of course, both the roles go hand in hand, but there's a fine balance that you have to achieve in order to also just stay calm and stay balanced, and respect yourself both as an artist and an educator. Yeah, so that's how it's appreciated, I guess. In the Indian art world, I think now there's a lot of sort of, I don't know whether it's called appreciation, but there's people are definitely keeping an eye on things. Not now; it's been a few years, um, but you can definitely get like typecast and stereotyped into a certain bracket of art making. Um, Yes, Sanjeev Sonpimpre is saying, since this is about food, food habits and experiences, memories, etc., let me ask a question. Professor Kancha Ilaya speaks about why he believes consumption of non-vegetarian food has been so important, his memory from his childhood. And also he speaks about milk with reference to cow versus buffalo and its national representation. One is white and other as black. How do you see this? Yeah, I read Professor's book. I think it was really one of the first books I read when I was thinking about food and caste specifically. His Why I'm Not a Hindu. And I do agree with him. um I also think, like, it's very interesting. There's obviously a reclamation of pride and of dignity that's important for those who do eat non-vegetarian food, and for our communities who have been eating non-vegetarian food, and surviving and being strong on it. There's definitely that's important. Um, and I've also been thinking a lot about what Dr. Ambedkar spoke about, of kind of leaving behind your these these visual, or like nodes of caste, like leaving behind, sort of, say, eating the meat of a dead animal like a cow. Sort of don't succumb to something that might be disrespectful to you, and might make people look down upon you. So it's very interesting how both of them are so important and tied into each other, and yet they can conflict at some point. My own family, we're Buddhist, we're neo-Buddhist, Ambedkarite Buddhist, and we I eat meat. My parents don't eat meat, and even in our colony, Ambedkar colony, mostly people are vegetarian, but there is people will eat non-veg, say on Sundays, etc. Maybe they won't tell anybody, but I think it's still common and it's allowed. Like, whatever whatever you want to do, whatever makes you feel good. Rumi is asking, how would you respond to the human crisis related with the recent migrants who were from SC/ST communities? Please respond to the recent mass migration in relation to discrimination and hunger. I don't really know what to say. It's horrific, and it's still happening right now. I mean, we at Naglok are doing as much as we can to raise funds. We have alumni all across India, Ambedkarite Buddhist youth who have been with us and then gone back to their own communities, and they're all working in their own different ways. Whether it's like making sure somebody has wood to cook, or making sure, like, outside Naglok, on the highway. We're giving food and water to anybody who's walking across. Um, I think it's definitely like 100% related, right? Like hunger, discrimination, and it is going to be the most vulnerable communities who are affected. And unfortunately, I think it's just gonna get worse. Like, like once this, if Corona gets spreads more, maybe again, it's the most vulnerable communities which will be hurt first. I don't know. I think 2020, we're just looking at a very scary and unfortunate year. Does this? I don't know if this answers your question, Rumi. It's a big question. Uh, I think we all just have to wait and see and do what we can um, in our own capacities to help other people, to help our own families, to help ourselves in this situation. Yeah, I think that's it. Any more questions? No, I don't think so. And it's 30 minutes, so I'm going to just text Prabhakar and see if we should end this. Done. Yeah, and if, for instance, like I don't actually know if the Naglok art residency will happen this year because of this crisis. But if anybody has any more questions to me, they can like write to me. I'm gonna put, maybe I'll make a post later on this page, about art residencies, say about writing, about like the art world and galleries. Uh, yeah, just send me any questions you like. Nitin is asking, I'm curious to know how you chose a conceptual mode of practice. Honestly, Nitin, I I'm desperate to learn more about my history. So I come from a mixed background. So my mom's Indian and my dad's English. And growing up, even though I grew up here in Pune, with my Indian side of the family mainly, like we there was much more like photographs or like writing and things like that related to the English side and not that much to the Indian side. And I think even in this art practice, I'm still that's still very important for me. Like I'm just trying to learn as much more as possible about my own history. So maybe that's why it's conceptual, and I'm not too concerned about like calling it art. Because I've had this academic background in sociology and anthropology. I just kind of go along with whatever I've been taught there. And if people accept it as art, great. And if they don't, it's fine. But I think my main aim is to just educate myself and get as much awareness as possible. Um, yeah, I'm not very good with explaining stuff about like art in general, because this practice is so like research based. Yeah, Prabhakar says that the Naglok art residency program is a great experience. Yeah, Prabhakar was part of it last year. It was really great. Um, Thank you, Nathan. The ceramics are made by myself. Yes, I make a lot of ceramics. This is actually one like strange bhakri that it's a bit broken, so I can't use it for anything right now. But this is a bhakri that I made. So I make ceramics also now based on these recipes. So the bhakri is a very important symbol, I think, in Maharashtra, especially in Dalit literature. Sharan Kumar Limbai speaks about the bhakar being the sun and the moon, and how hunger and man are so sort of tied together, and the bhakar is really like raised to this level of almost like godlike devotion, because the bhakar is what keeps people going here in Maharashtra especially. Um, so yeah, if you do read any Maharashtrian Dalit autobiographies, for sure you'll notice bhakar everywhere. So that's why I started making the ceramic ones, um, just to see what it felt like. Um, Sumit, how has been your experience with access to art studies as a student and financial stability as an artist? Given your interest in that perspective, how do these experiences differ from Savarna experiences? So I didn't do art. I did sociology, and then anthropology. So that was quite like I studied in Pune, and then I went abroad for 1 year. Financial stability as an artist, I live with my parents right now. It's not easy. I don't know how people do this as a career. But slowly, I think things are getting better. I think because I've been lucky to just have supportive parents and have a space here. So I think now hopefully things are picking up. Um, but like you definitely think twice about it. And I also just always want to do some other things, to keep myself busy and also make some more money on the side. So for like I'll do some writing work at times for some money, etc. But because I don't pay rent in Pune, yeah, I'm a child. Um, I don't have to worry so much about like sustainability yet. But I think after this year for sure. Given your interest in Dal perspective, how do these experiences differ from Savarna experiences? I'm not sure what I understand from that. Can you explain it a little more? Hi, Pisuro. I think, oh, like, how do they, mm, I think a lot of, uh, I think a lot of Savarna experiences, like, they do deal with caste, but in a sort of, I don't know what caste is. Like, nobody will say that, oh, this is a Brahmin artist and this is a Vaishya artist or something like that. And I actually feel like everything in India is colored by caste. So you can't really um, differentiate. I think it's just the fact that artists who are from Dalit backgrounds, from sort of from LGBTQI backgrounds will just be more honest and open and talk about it up front. And I feel like perhaps a lot of Savarna artists don't have that kind of exposure and don't want it. Maybe, maybe I'm being a bit mean. Um, Santosh is saying anthropological intervention in art practice in the horizon on Adivasis, Dalit. Yeah, I think so. I think definitely, actually, perhaps it's always been there, I think we can look at a lot of art practices of artists from our communities as anthropological in their own right, and as sort of giving huge insight into anthropological research, because they are often either lived experiences or community experiences that people are trying to deal with, and I think that's what, like, both of them are combined. So I did visual anthropology, which meant sort of training in film, in photography, in sound, and using that for research. um, and I think because of that, it was just like automatically like, okay, I have all these different mediums that I can work with, including art. to put towards my research. Except now I'd say I don't like, it's just the art that's there. Um, yeah, great. I think that's it, perhaps. Um, Thank you so much again, and thanks for taking the time out today of all days. And I hope we have an okay time during this lockdown. I hope everybody survives and is strong. And I can also put up a reading list later on this page if anybody wants any suggestions. But yeah, thank you and Jai Bhim.